Everyone thought Pedro was the one who moved on too fast. But what if he wasn't the one chasing, and what if the story TLC let you believe about Sophie isn't the full picture either? Because according to Sophie Sierra herself, Pedro Jimeno slid into her DMs first. Not the other way around. And she didn't whisper it. She said it plainly, calmly, almost casually. He was very confident. That doesn't sound like an accident. That doesn't sound like two random reality stars bumping into each other online. It sounds intentional. And if you've been watching 90 Day the way we have, you already know nothing in this universe happens without layers. Especially when it involves two people who both walked away from messy, public breakups. Sophie Sierra from 90 Day, The Single Life. Pedro Jimeno from the Family Chantel fallout. Two very different storylines. Two very different heartbreaks. But now, a DM. And the timing is what makes this feel bigger than TLC ever explained. Let's rewind. Pedro came out of his divorce from Chantel Everett looking like the villain to a lot of fans. Cold, distant, accused of leveling up and leaving. Social media practically exploded when their marriage collapsed. TikTok edits painted him as calculated. Reddit threads dissected his body language like a crime scene. Instagram comments flooded with, "Karma is coming." Meanwhile, Sophie was navigating her own relationship chaos. Trust issues, immaturity accusations, emotional instability debates. Viewers questioned whether she was too young, too reactive, too influenced by outside opinions. She cried on camera. She looked lost, and a lot of fans felt protective over her. So when she revealed Pedro slid into her DMs first, it didn't just feel like gossip. It felt like a power shift. Because Pedro isn't new to reality fame. He knows how narratives form. He knows how fans react. He knows how quickly perception can change. And here's what TLC didn't unpack. What does it mean when someone who just escaped a highly publicized divorce confidently approaches another reality star who is also in emotional limbo? Within the first few minutes of Sophie telling that story, something subtle happened. She didn't frame it as romantic fairy tale energy. She didn't act starstruck. She described it almost analytically. He was very confident. Confident how? Confident like a man testing waters. Confident like someone rebuilding his image. Or confident like someone who knew exactly what kind of attention that connection would generate. I know what you're thinking. Maybe it's just harmless flirting. Reality stars are in the same ecosystem. DMs happen. But here's the part nobody was ready for. The mini reveal. They didn't just exchange one or two messages. The communication was real enough for Sophie to acknowledge publicly. That means it mattered enough to her story to say out loud. And if you've been following this channel, you already know we don't just look at what they say. We look at why they say it. If you're someone who watches these relationships unfold and feels like producers leave out the most important emotional context, you're exactly who this community is for. We don't pick sides blindly. We connect dots. Quietly, honestly. And if you want the deeper layers TLC glosses over, stick around with us. Because this gets complicated. Pedro's entire public narrative after Chantel centered around ambition, career growth, independence, leveling up. He was painted as someone who outgrew his marriage. Whether that's fair or not depends on who you ask. But the image was clear, he wanted something different. Sophie, on the other hand, has been navigating insecurity and instability in relationships. Long-distance tension, emotional immaturity debates, fans questioning whether she's ready for marriage at all. Now imagine those two energies colliding. On social media, reactions were immediate and divided. TikTok split in half. One side said, Pedro stays chasing younger women. The other side said, Sophie deserves someone more mature. On X, fans speculated this was all clout-driven. Reddit threads spiraled into timelines, cross-referencing filming schedules. Instagram comments ranged from, "This is cute," to, "This feels calculated." YouTube comment sections, even messier. Some viewers felt Sophie was being validated. Others warned her she was stepping into another emotionally unavailable situation. But here's what most people missed. Confidence can mean attraction, but confidence can also mean control. Pedro has always carried himself with a certain calm dominance. Even during arguments with Chantel, he rarely exploded. He withdrew. He detached. That emotional distance became part of his brand. So when Sophie describes him as very confident, it's worth asking, did she see charm, or did she see stability she felt she lacked? Because after chaotic relationships, confidence feels safe. Even if it isn't. This is where everything quietly starts to unravel. Sophie didn't chase him. That's important. He made the first move. That shifts the dynamic. It suggests he was watching, paying attention, aware of her storyline. And here's the twist that changes how you see this entirely. Pedro has been rebuilding his image carefully since his divorce. Strategic interviews, measured responses, limited emotional vulnerability, just enough mystery to stay relevant without oversharing. So why risk sliding into another reality star's DMs? Unless the connection wasn't random. What if this wasn't just flirtation? What if it was alignment? Think about it. Two reality personalities navigating public sympathy arcs. Two people needing to reshape how audiences see them. A potential relationship between them wouldn't just be personal. It would be a storyline. And that's when things start feeling less accidental. But here's where tension spikes. Because according to insiders close to production chatter, networks pay attention to crossover potential. Cross-franchise interactions drive engagement. Engagement drives headlines. Headlines drive viewership. So when Sophie drops that Pedro messaged her first, she isn't just revealing flirtation. She's dropping a spark into a gasoline-soaked fanbase. And just when you think this is about romance, here's the deeper layer. Power imbalance. Pedro is older, more seasoned in the franchise, more media trained. Sophie is still finding her footing. Still emotional on camera, still figuring out how to handle backlash. A confident DM from someone like Pedro doesn't land the same way it would from a random guy. It lands heavier, but what happened next made everything before this look small, and almost nobody connected the dots. Because while fans were debating whether this was cute or shady, something else was happening quietly. Pedro wasn't publicly acknowledging it. He didn't amplify it. He didn't tease it. He stayed silent. That silence. That's strategy. Let that sit for a second. Sophie brings it up. Fans react. Buzz builds. And Pedro says nothing. In reality TV language, that's called letting someone else carry the narrative risk. And that's where things start feeling uncomfortable. I'm not saying he had bad intentions. We don't know that. But what we do know is this: confidence plus silence equals control. Midway through this unfolding drama, fans started revisiting Pedro's marriage timeline. They reanalyzed how quickly he emotionally detached from Chantel. They questioned whether he checks out before he checks out. And suddenly, Sophie's revelation didn't feel flirty. It felt like a pattern. But here's the part nobody expected. Sophie didn't sound bitter when she talked about it. She didn't sound manipulated. She sounded aware. That changes everything. Because maybe this isn't about Pedro playing a game. Maybe it's about Sophie learning to recognize one. And if you've been watching her growth arc closely, you can see it. She's not the same girl from her early episodes. She's more cautious, more self-aware, less desperate to prove something. Which brings us to the emotional core of this story. After public heartbreak, attention feels validating. Especially when it comes from someone who survived a similar storm. But validation can blur boundaries. And that's when truth slips out. Behind the scenes, both Pedro and Sophie are navigating money pressure, public opinion, and the constant awareness that every move might become a storyline. Immigration struggles, family expectations, financial independence, these pressures don't disappear when cameras stop rolling. They intensify. So a DM isn't just a message. It's potential. It's leverage. It's risk. And the devastating part, fans will choose sides without knowing the full conversation. Because we only got one sentence. He was very confident. We didn't get the tone. We didn't get the follow-up. We didn't get what she felt afterward. And that's intentional. Reality TV thrives on partial truths. But here's the final layer most people missed. When Sophie revealed he messaged her first, she subtly reclaimed power. She controlled the narrative before anyone could twist it. If rumors ever escalate, if screenshots ever surface, If stories ever spin out of control. She already established the timeline. He initiated. That's not just gossip. That's protection. And in this franchise, protection matters. Because once fans decide you're the villain, it sticks. Just ask Pedro. Just ask Chantel. Just ask anyone who's tried to outrun an edit. So maybe this isn't a love story. Maybe it's not a scandal. Maybe it's two people testing waters in a world where every ripple becomes a headline. Or maybe it's the beginning of something TLC hasn't revealed yet. But here's the uncomfortable question we can't ignore. If Pedro is truly confident and healed, why reach into the same reality pool that nearly drowned his marriage? And if Sophie is truly growing, why entertain someone whose past is still radioactive with controversy? This isn't black and white. It's human. It's messy. It's strategic. It's emotional. And the most devastating part, we may never see the real conversation that started it all. Because in the world of 90 Day, what happens in the DMs rarely stays private forever. So tell me this, was Pedro bold for making the first move, or calculated? Was Sophie empowered for revealing it, or quietly warning us? Drop your take below. I'm genuinely curious where you stand on this one. And keep your eyes open. Because if there's one thing we've learned, it's that the biggest twists in this franchise don't explode. They slide in quietly, just like a confident DM. Thanks for watching this video and please subscribe Talent Zone Updates YouTube channel for more update news.